Hey everyone, time for round three. Welcome back. I think I'm starting to get used to this YouTube thing. It's very different for me. It actually makes me more informed on like what people do when they do this and how many takes they do. Anyways, so I got another character for you today. His name's Callous. He is one of the characters in the C-Jac universe that is different from some of the other Jacks. Now, Callous is a defense mechanism in this world where he was more of a character that can nullify the other type of emotions and the other characters to more or less bring them down from losing control. So, in that, Callous can have a double-edged sword in meaning, but in this term, Callous is almost used as an advantage point to kind of level yourself off. So, I'll be talking about that. I'll be having fun with the drawing. I hope you enjoy it and stick around. Yeah. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the next video. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you've been enjoying them. I've been really enjoying sharing these guys with you and kind of prepping for this comic to come to life. We're going to go ahead and dive into Callous today. Callous is a character developed in this universe particularly. He's not like the other characters. He is more of a defense tool for the characters, if that makes sense. In the comic, it will definitely kind of cross the T's and dot the I's so you understand where he's coming from. But Callous technically can be taken to a bad area. Being callous is pretty much a lack of emotion to anything and everything. Callous himself as a character is a very complex being, specifically because it's not that he doesn't care. However, he is a defense mechanism for the others to allow them to breathe. So the way I developed him is typically how I try my best to calm myself down. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how I can stop myself from falling into rabbit holes or getting too lost in what's going on. And sometimes you should tell yourself, I'm going to go numb. Like, I just feel very numb today, right? So Callous is that numbness. He is nullifying the other characters who are being overwhelmed in order for them to take a minute and recognize. So it's a kind of that stepping back method, so you can kind of understand. Now, the one key concept for Callous, though, is just because you step back from a situation or just because it's nullified, so to speak, in his ability here, it doesn't mean that it's gone. Some people can leave it with Callous. At that point, it leads to Callous becoming more callous. Because he's holding on to those memories. He's holding on to what's really kind of egging you. And another reason why I use Callous as a fun little character attribute is ice can be reflective. So he's kind of an ice character. He's the numbness kind of tying a lot of that in together. It's kind of the way the character made sense to me when I developed him. And so when it came to Callous, I wanted to kind of cross the line of that ice and that loneliness. And it's not necessarily that he's sad, but when he holds on to it too long, even somebody, I don't want to say something, but someone who feels numb a lot of the time, it's not that they don't feel, it's sometimes they just have a problem feeling it. And we can take it as them being callous. And I just think that's not the way to go about it. That's when you step back and you kind of understand, and it triggers off the other emotions, and it goes crazy, and you're just like, what's going on? And so Callous is kind of the way I've made sense of when I go numb, when I typically, in a sense, am not caring. And he's going to kind of have this melancholy-like type of look to his face. I wanted to kind of create this jacket around him, almost like a straight jacket. I'm debating whether or not I'm going to make his hands free or actually make them be able to move around, but still with the wrap, so it's like he can still fluidly move and function. However, these straps almost seem binding because when we do end up in that ellipse of numbness, so to speak, we kind of, at least for myself, speaking for myself, when I fall into that ellipse, I don't really I don't feel like doing much. It's the moment of I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get a fried chicken sandwich, and I'm just going to, like, not feel anything today. And so that, it's just never really fun. Sometimes it is, but sometimes I think you need it. Sometimes I think you need those days where you're not so wrapped up in, hey, I need to worry about this, think about this, do that, do this. I feel like our lives are completely wrapped around that. And even with this quarantine, I think that we've ended up in a position where we think about that way more than we used to. So it's like you start to think to yourself, how do I care about how I feel and do things? Or even attacking that. Or maybe you know how to do it, but the quarantine has hindered those abilities. For me, I love swimming. Swimming is such a coping mechanism for me. It allows me to breathe. Although when you swim, you're technically continuously drowning, if that makes sense, because you're always trying to breathe when you're swimming. It's weird why I love swimming. It is that kind of drown effect. I'm always struggling. You try to go as many laps as you can, struggling to breathe, and it's almost like you're suffocating yourself. But at the same time, you keep going with it, and it's been a representation of that numbness. Because when I feel numb, when I'm really kind of lost, swimming is such a huge coping mechanism. Because I guess it simulates what is happening with me, and not that that's a good way to go about it. I think it's just you find your coping mechanisms and you use them to your best ability to where they're not going to hurt you. And swimming has been such a relief, but it also is just a relief and weight off of my body. So I really appreciate that. But Callous is going to be one of those characters, I think, during the series where he's going to really surprise you in how he does things. The name really does measure up to him, but essentially there's more to being Callous than just the defined word. And I feel like that's one thing, too, we can do as a person is redefining the word for the purpose or intent, that we can make it something, a strength rather than a weakness. And that's kind of how I've made my Callous, how I myself can be callous to some extent. It doesn't always have to be bad. It doesn't have to be something that breaks us or makes a negative character attribute. It's just something that we can make our own. But I'm almost coming to a close here. The inking phase is really done. I'm really stoked about the color palette I'm going to use for this, and I really hope you guys enjoy the finished character. But hopefully there was some relation to being Callous and the word and term. But essentially, I appreciate you guys sticking around. There's 3 more videos after this, and they're going to be more fun characters. But yeah, we're looking good. All right. Thank you guys for sticking around.